Is red the weakest color in Magic the Gathering?
Good question.
But why is that?
Well, you got me.
Is there a way to fix this? And if so, can it be fixed while staying true to red's core?
Good question!
In today's video, we talk about the current state of red in Magic and why the color feels so limited and linear in comparison to the other colors. Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with a topic I want to address with you. As you've of course seen throughout the course of this channel, I'm a very big fan of mono red in general. In fact, many times I've said before that I believe that mono red aggro, specifically burn decks, are the most Chad of deck archetypes. But in all seriousness, over the course of time, we have seen red have its ups and downs, but recently we've been seeing a lot more of a trend where mono red is starting to fall behind some of the other colors that we have seen have definitely gotten a big power boost over time. I kind of want to address a little bit on my opinion of how I feel red is currently in the state of the game, and this is mostly going to be a little bit of us looking at the basic history of how red is, color philosophy of how it looks, and then we can kind of go from there of addressing what possible fixes are in play, if any at all, going forward into the game. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content. You can support me monthly for a small amount on Patreon, where I have all of my extended bonus footage posted. We also have a Redbubble spot where you can buy merch like stickers and shirts, or for free, all you can just do also is just join our growing community on Discord. Your support helps keep this channel going. All links are in the details below. Before we can discuss the current state of red, we must first understand red at its core. First, red is the color of freedom, of emotion, and impulse. But what does that mean? Well, here shown right now are some cards that I would consider are the best examples of red. Spells that let you exile cards granting temporary card advantage, spells that let you get temporary power via pump, spells that let you hit just about anything at instant speed, even if it means sometimes sacrificing in something in return. In other words, red wants to do what it wants when it wants. Red lives in the moment and doesn't care about the past or the future. Haste is a perfect keyword that describes the color. Strike fast, bolt first, and ask questions never. Am I right? But of course this does lead us to red's weakness, which seems now easier to understand. Red's habit to jump right into the fight and begin punching everything in sight means it can run out of steam fast and oftentimes doesn't have a plan B. Other colors are better balanced to manage bad outcomes and change tactics easier than red does. This means that red lacks the ability to play the long game. Yes, you can build a mid-range or control deck with red, but the problem is red lacks the ability generally to endure, as we have very few ramp options except for temporary ramps such as anthem effects or rituals, which makes casting bigger creatures hard to do. Red can't hit enchantments on top of that, so we have to rely on other colors to do that if we must. Red's bigger creatures are usually inefficient, and smaller creatures sometimes need a lot of extra support to close out games versus, say, the mid-range piles and control decks out there that we face. Furthermore, there is one other major issue when it comes to red and balance. We have seen before that many spells that can be very strong with red sometimes get co-opted by other colors because of how efficient and low to the ground red can be. With some of the pump spells that we have seen over time, they've gotten a little too efficient to the point where some people actually want to see those cards banned. Or sometimes if they do try to have cards that are similar to more powerful iterations in years past, and a great example of that is Lightning Bolt and Lightning Strike, you can see from just these two cards alone, one is an iconic staple, but sometimes it's argued that is too powerful even for current standard in 2025, versus the other version which just feels more like filler that's appropriate for standard, but is just too weak for any other format out there. To this end is why I believe that red is the weakest color currently, but we have seen there is some hope on the horizon. In the recent sets over the past year, I've noticed, red has gotten a lot more universal, stronger removal that has really helped its game plan a lot more deal with some of the bigger threats that red usually tends to just struggle against. But the one card in particular that I actually do want to highlight is coming up, and as of the posting of this video, should be debuting literally in a couple of days from Tarkir Dragonstorm. And that card I want to highlight specifically is Sunset Strike Master. This is a brand new mana dork that red almost never gets. Yes, there are some mana dorks that we have seen in red before, but many of them are very limited to a very specific archetype, which makes them just way too narrow to be really useful for anything. But this one right here, I hope will start a new trend moving forward. So let's talk about this card in general for a moment. Sunset Strike Master is a 2-mana, 3/1 human monk, and you can tap it to add red mana. Or its secondary ability is you can tap it and pay 3, you sacrifice the monk, and it will deal 6 damage to target creature with flying. this is actually a pretty nice utility card that not only helps you ramp for bigger creatures, but also with its secondary ability can address one of the other concerns that red most often than not has trouble with, and that's usually dealing with heavier threats in the air and sometimes finding a way to get rid of your mana dorks when you don't need them in the mid to late game. The card is not overstepping its bounds like some of the lower end mana dorks such as, Llanowar Elves or Elvish Mystic, but its secondary ability does provide itself a unique utility that makes it not only unique for red, but also allows you to cash in the card so it doesn't feel like a dead draw in the mid to late game. Furthermore, the mana curve where this is going to be played in hopefully should allow more decks to start embracing a bigger side of red that tends to get ignored, maybe like dragons or just bigger spells that more often than not red usually doesn't play unless we are playing maybe a commander deck where you have a lot of time and many turns to build up to a bigger threat. I know some of you out there may be thinking I may be overdoing it by just talking about this singular card, but I do hope addressing this card right now will symbolize that there is hope that red can finally start moving away from its super linear deck archetypes that, although I've had fun with, I would still like to see hopefully trend towards a different way of diversifying red and giving it a better shot of competing with the other colors as the game continually evolves over time. And if you do want to see me kind of talk about the other colors and my thoughts on them along with color theory, I would love to hear from you. But with that all out of the way, here are my final thoughts that I want to give on this color. Until the end of time, I'm going to forever keep playing red, and I'm pretty sure that's obvious because I am a very big passionate person about the color, so I guess that kind of means that it really does resonate with me literally at the most core level of what red represents. And I do believe that from what we've seen over the past several sets, over the past year or so, that there is going to be that continual uptick of stronger cards, both in removal, in creatures and spells, that hopefully will push red to be a much more competitive player without hopefully not overpowering itself versus the other colors in Magic. But again, you tell me in the comments below, what are your thoughts overall on red? Do you think it's a strong color? Do you think it's a weak color? Do you want to see more diversity in red decks out there? Do you want to see me actually build some new types of red decks out there? Let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear from all of you. But one thing is for sure, no matter where red goes, no matter how strong or weak it may be, I assure you, I'm going to keep making exciting and fun red decks out there, and you will definitely not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later.